Rain slammed against Lena's apartment windows hard enough to make the glass tremble. The storm had already knocked out power across half the neighborhood, and the only light in her tiny living room came from a flickering battery lantern sitting on the coffee table. Lena pressed one hand against her swollen belly and gasped as another sharp pain ripped through her body. "No, not yet," she whispered. She was only 30, 6 weeks pregnant. The doctor had warned her to avoid stress, but stress had become her entire life since her husband Jason walked away 3 months earlier. According to him, fatherhood was too much responsibility. He packed a suitcase and disappeared before their son was even born. Another contraction hit. Lena grabbed the edge of the couch, breathing hard. Her phone shook in her trembling hand as she dialed the one number she still hoped would help. "Mom," her mother answered on the 4th ring, sounding annoyed. Music and laughter echoed loudly in the background. "What is it, Lena? We're in the middle of dinner." "Mom," Lena cried softly, "I think I'm in labor." There was silence for half a second. Then her mother sighed dramatically. "Well, call a cab." Lena blinked, convinced she had heard wrong. "What? A cab, Lena?" Her mother repeated impatiently. "Your father opened an expensive bottle of wine, and Emma invited her future in-laws tonight. We can't leave." Another contraction nearly dropped Lena to her knees. "Mom, I'm scared," she whispered. "The hospital is 40 minutes away. You're 30 years old," her mother snapped. "Women give birth every day. Stop being dramatic." The line went dead. Lena stared at her phone in disbelief. Her entire body shook. Not from labor, but from heartbreak. She tried calling her father next. No answer. Emma texted instead. "Sorry, big night tonight." "You'll be fine," Red Lena let out a broken laugh that quickly turned into sobbing. Outside, thunder cracked across the sky. Another contraction came harder this time, stealing her breath completely. She forced herself to move, grabbing the hospital bag she had packed weeks ago, hoping someone would lovingly drive her there when the moment came. Not like this, never like this. By the time she reached the apartment building entrance, rain soaked through her sweater instantly. No taxis were available because of the storm. She stood under the awning crying, clutching her stomach while cars sped past the empty street. Then an old yellow cab slowly pulled over. The driver, a gray-haired man with gentle eyes, jumped out quickly. "You okay, miss? I'm in labor," Lena whispered weakly. His expression changed immediately. "Get in, now." The ride to the hospital felt endless. Lena cried quietly in the back seat, while contractions crashed through her body like waves. The driver kept speaking calmly to her. "You're doing good. Almost there. Keep breathing." Strangely, his kindness hurt more than her parents' cruelty. Because a complete stranger cared more about her than her own family. When they finally arrived, nurses rushed Lena inside with a wheelchair. One nurse held her hand while another checked her vitals. "Where's the father?" someone asked. Lena swallowed painfully. "Gone, and your family." She looked away, busy. Hours later, exhausted and screaming through unbearable pain, Lena gave birth to a tiny baby boy with dark hair and loud lungs. The moment the nurse placed him in her arms, the world suddenly became quiet. Lena stared down at him through tears. "Hi, Noah," she whispered. The baby wrapped his impossibly small fingers around hers, and something inside Lena healed and shattered at the same time. Because, for the first time in her life, someone needed her completely. Someone would look at her with love instead of disappointment. A nurse smiled softly beside the bed. "He's beautiful." Lena kissed Noah's forehead gently. Outside, the storm finally began to fade. But inside her heart, another storm had just begun. As her son slept against her chest, Lena made a silent promise in the darkness of the hospital room. No matter what happened, Noah would never know what it felt like to be abandoned. The first few weeks after Noah's birth passed in a blur of exhaustion, midnight feedings, and quiet tears. Lena barely slept. Her tiny apartment constantly smelled like baby lotion, warm milk, and the instant noodles she survived on between diaper changes. Some nights she sat awake in the rocking chair near the window, holding Noah against her chest while rain tapped softly outside. Those were the hardest moments, not because of the baby, because silence gave memories room to breathe. Lena had spent her entire life trying to earn love from parents who gave it freely to everyone except her. As a child, she watched her younger sister Emma receive everything first: birthday parties, expensive clothes, piano lessons, family vacations. Meanwhile, Lena learned early how to survive on leftovers. When Lena graduated high school with honors, her parents missed the ceremony because Emma had a dance competition. When Lena earned a college scholarship, her father simply nodded and said, "Good. At least you won't cost us money." But when Emma got accepted into a small local fashion program, her parents threw a huge celebration dinner and invited relatives from 3 cities away. Lena remembered every moment, every forgotten birthday, every cold silence, every comparison, and somehow, despite all of it, she still called her mother first while she was in labor. That truth hurt the most. Noah stirred softly in her arms, interrupting the painful memories. Lena looked down and smiled immediately. "Hungry again already," she whispered. His tiny face scrunched adorably before he started crying. Lena laughed quietly despite her exhaustion. Okay, I'm coming." Motherhood was terrifying, but it also healed parts of her that had been broken for years. Noah didn't care whether she was successful, pretty, or perfect. He simply needed her, and she would never fail him. 3 months passed. Lena started working remotely again, answering customer service emails during Noah's naps while balancing bills she could barely afford. Money was tight, but peace slowly returned to her apartment, until one afternoon someone knocked at her door. Lena opened it cautiously and froze. Her mother stood there holding shopping bags and wearing an unusually warm smile. "Honey," she said sweetly. Lena stared in shock. Her mother had not visited once during pregnancy, not once after birth either. Now suddenly she was here. "I brought gifts for the baby," her mother continued, lifting the bags proudly. "And for you too." Lena didn't move aside. "What do you want?" Her mother's smile faltered briefly before returning. "Can't a mother visit her daughter?" Lena almost laughed at the absurdity of the sentence. Still, against her better judgment, she led her inside. Her mother immediately walked toward Noah's crib. "Oh my goodness," she whispered dramatically. "He looks just like our side of the family." Lena crossed her arms quietly. Her mother picked Noah up carefully, rocking him while tears suddenly filled her eyes. "I've missed so much already." The performance was almost convincing. Almost, then Lena noticed it. Her mother wasn't really looking at her. Every ounce of attention focused entirely on Noah. Not once had she apologized. Not once had she mentioned the night Lena begged for help during labor. Instead, she spent an hour talking about baby clothes, Noah's future, and how wonderful motherhood was. Before leaving, her mother gently touched Noah's cheek. "You know," she said casually, "Emma came by the other day and cried when she saw his pictures." Lena stiffened immediately. "Why?" Her mother hesitated. "She's been having difficulties." A cold feeling crept into Lena's stomach. She and Daniel have been trying for a baby for years now. Lena said nothing. Her mother looked toward Noah again with strange softness. "Sometimes life is unfair," she whispered. The room suddenly felt too small, too quiet, too tense. Then her mother smiled again and headed toward the door. "We'll visit more often now," she said happily. "Family should stay close." After she left, Lena locked the door slowly and looked down at Noah sleeping peacefully in her arms. For the first time since becoming a mother, fear settled heavily into her chest, because deep inside she knew her parents never came back for her. They came back for the baby. Lena tried convincing herself she was overthinking. For an entire week after her mother's visit, she forced herself to believe the strange feeling in her chest was only anxiety. Maybe her parents really wanted to reconnect. Maybe becoming grandparents had softened them. But then the gifts started arriving. Boxes of expensive baby clothes, a designer stroller Lena could never afford, toys Noah was still too young to use. Every delivery came with a card signed by both her parents and Emma, thinking of Noah always. Family is forever. The words made Lena uneasy instead of grateful. One evening, Emma suddenly called. That alone was unusual. Her sister rarely contacted her unless she needed something. Lena answered cautiously while bouncing Noah gently against her shoulder. Hey, Emma's voice sounded overly cheerful. I miss you. Lena nearly rolled her eyes. What do you want? Ouch. Emma laughed weakly. Can't sisters talk? We've gone months without speaking before. There was a brief silence, then Emma sighed. Mom told me you're still struggling financially. Lena's grip tightened around the phone immediately. I'm managing. You shouldn't have to do this alone, Emma said softly. Raising a baby is hard. I know. Another pause followed. Then came the sentence that made Lena's blood run cold. Maybe Noah deserves more stability. Lena stood completely still. What does that mean? Emma hesitated before continuing carefully. Daniel and I could help raise him. The room spun. No, Lena, listen, no. You don't even know what I'm offering. I know enough. Emma's sweet tone vanished instantly. You've always been emotional, and you've always been selfish. Emma exhaled sharply. Daniel and I have money, a house, good schools. He's my son. You're barely surviving. Lena looked down at Noah, sleeping peacefully against her chest. Rage exploded through her body so fiercely it surprised even her. Where were all of you, she whispered, when I was alone in labor? Emma went quiet. You told me to call a cab, Lena continued, voice shaking. Mom ignored me. Dad ignored me. You couldn't even leave a dinner party. That's different. No, Lena snapped. It's exactly the same. None of you cared about me. Now suddenly you care about my baby. Emma's voice hardened. You should think about what's best for him instead of acting bitter. Lena hung up immediately. Her hands trembled so badly she almost dropped the phone. 10 minutes later, someone pounded aggressively on her apartment door. Her parents. Lena opened it halfway, keeping Noah against her shoulder. Her father walked in first, face already irritated. You embarrassed your sister? He said coldly. Lena stared at him in disbelief. Excuse me. Her mother stepped forward dramatically. Emma was only trying to help. By taking my child. No one said taking. Her mother replied carefully. But maybe sharing responsibility would be wise. Lena laughed bitterly. You people are insane. Her father's expression darkened instantly. Watch your tone. No, Lena fired back. You abandoned me my entire life. Then you left me alone during labor like I was nothing. You always exaggerate, he snapped. I could have died that night. Her mother crossed her arms defensively, and yet you didn't. The cruelty of the sentence stole the air from Lena's lungs. Even now, no remorse, no guilt, nothing. Her father stepped closer. Emma can provide opportunities you never will. Lena held Noah tighter instinctively. You think money makes someone a parent? No. Her mother said quietly while staring at the baby. Love does. Lena's eyes filled with tears. Exactly, she whispered. The room fell silent, because deep down all of them knew the truth. The only person who truly loved Noah was the woman they spent years treating like she was worthless. Her father scoffed angrily. You owe this family after everything we sacrificed raising you. Lena finally broke. No, she said firmly. I don't owe you my child just because you failed to love your own daughter. For the first time in her life, her parents had no answer. Lena walked to the door and opened it wide. Get out. Her mother looked stunned. Her father looked furious. But neither moved, so Lena repeated herself louder this time. Get out of my home. And slowly, one by one, the family that had broken her heart her entire life finally walked away. After that night, Lena changed everything. She blocked her parents' numbers. Emma's messages went unanswered. The endless guilt-filled voicemails stopped after a few weeks, replaced by angry texts from relatives who only knew the twisted version of the story. According to her parents, Lena was keeping Noah away from the family out of spite. But for once in her life, Lena refused to defend herself. The truth did not need screaming. It lived quietly in her memories. In the stormy night they abandoned her. In the silence of the hospital room. In the tiny baby who slept peacefully against her chest while nobody came. So instead of fighting, Lena focused on building a future. During Noah's naps, she started baking again, something she had loved since childhood. As a little girl, she used to stand alone in the kitchen making cupcakes because it was the only place in the house that felt warm. Soon, she began posting photos of her desserts online, chocolate caramel cakes, strawberry pastries. vanilla cookies shaped like tiny moons and stars. To her surprise, orders started pouring in from local customers. People loved not only her baking, but also the comforting caption she wrote beneath every photo. Little by little, Lena's tiny apartment transformed into something brighter. Something alive. Noah grew too. By his first birthday, he had his mother's smile and the loudest laugh Lena had ever heard. He crawled across the kitchen floor while she baked, giggling whenever flour accidentally dusted his tiny nose. For the first time in her life, Lena felt rich, not because of money, because of peace. Then, one afternoon, her phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. "Please, your mother is in the hospital." Lena froze. An hour later, she sat quietly in a hospital waiting room while her father stared at the floor across from her. He looked older now, smaller somehow. "She's been asking for you," he muttered. Lena said nothing. After several minutes, he finally looked up. "Your aunt told the family what happened the night you went into labor." Lena blinked slowly. Apparently, the taxi driver who helped her that night had been the cousin of one of her relatives. The story spread quickly. Soon everyone knew her parents chose a dinner party over their pregnant daughter begging for help. The perfect family image shattered overnight. Emma's husband moved out months later after constant arguments. Relatives stopped visiting her parents as often. People whispered now when they entered family gatherings. Lena felt no joy hearing it, only emptiness. A nurse eventually guided her into the hospital room. Her mother looked pale against the white pillows. The confident woman who once controlled every room now seemed fragile and tired. The moment she saw Lena holding Noah, tears filled her eyes. "He's gotten so big," she whispered. Lena stayed near the doorway. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then her mother finally broke down crying. "I made mistakes." Lena's expression remained calm. "You left me alone while I was in labor." Her mother covered her face weakly. "I know. I begged you for help. I know. And later you tried to take my son." Fresh tears rolled down her mother's cheeks. "I thought fixing Emma's pain would fix this family." Lena looked down at Noah resting happily in her arms. "But you never cared about mine," she said softly. The room fell silent except for the steady hospital monitor beeping nearby. Her mother reached out trembling fingers toward Noah, but Lena stepped back gently, not angrily, not cruelly, just firmly. "I spent my whole life begging this family to love me," Lena whispered. "I'm done begging now." Her mother sobbed quietly. Lena adjusted Noah against her shoulder and walked toward the door. Right before leaving, she paused one final time. "Family isn't blood," she said without turning around. "Family is the people who stay." Then she walked away peacefully, carrying the little boy who would never know what it felt like to be unwanted.